Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Glasshouse Films Midnight Review. Nick's back. This one's a bit of an oldie, I guess. I mean, it did come out last week.
I didn't even know that. I thought it came out this week.
Nah. Midsommar. I mean, you clicked on the link. You know we're reviewing Midsommar. First and foremost, I don't think I'm ever going to shop at IKEA ever again. Fuck that shit. Second of all...
Those are blood tables.
The blood tables for sure. Bloody fuck tables. Second, I loved this film. Straight up, I adored this film, and I love that it takes a lot of elements that really. So Hereditary was Ari Aster's first film, and then this one comes out and it's like, okay, you can still feel his signature on it if you've seen it.
I haven't seen Hereditary.
He hasn't seen Hereditary. You can still feel his signature on it, but it's played in a very different way, and it still really works. I think he edits, or not so much edits, but he works his signature styles, or like the very slow camera, the deliberate pacing, but also the deliberate blocking of scenes. It's used to a different effect in this film, whereas the last film, it was all about the details. This one, because there's a lot more characters in it and the scope is actually larger, it still gets used to a really great degree, but almost a more economical degree, even though this film is like 2.5 hours long. Also, if you like A24 gang cult shit films, this one's for you. I mean, through and through.
For sure.
There's a certain group of people out there that do not like A24 films, especially their horror films. This film ain't gonna be for you. I feel like it has better payoff than some of their other horror films, but it's still deliberately paced. The gore is presented in a certain way. Plot elements are shown in a certain way. Mm-hmm. But if you're into that, if you buy into that, I think you're gonna have a great time. How about you?
I really enjoyed this movie. I think that the only thing that I didn't enjoy really was that sometimes it's a bit off-putting when weak characters are kind of like, it's okay to have characters that are just weak, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like all the protagonists in this movie are like very weak characters. They're all very flawed, and I felt like kind of the farther we got in the movie, the more they started to like drop that for certain characters. I don't like when they sort of try to go like, oh, this character is actually like a strong-willed, kind of character, and it sort of comes out of nowhere. So I guess this is a completely different movie, but take something like You're Next, right? Yeah. So the girl, you find out partway, through the movie, like, oh yeah, she's raised in a survival colony.
And definitely see You're Next.
Also, yeah, it's spoiler for You're Next, but you find out that she's like raised in a survival colony, and she ends up being like this total badass. And it's like super campy, and it's awesome. I don't know, the way they presented it makes sense in this movie. This movie is not like campy really like that at all.
No.
But they take some characters and they sort of are like, they're weak characters. Like they're
well developed characters, but they are
none of them are good people though. I guess you'd say the main girl
Florence Pugh.
She's just like a victim all the time, and projects that onto like other people. She projects it on other people. That's like a big plot point in the movie. Is like her boyfriend is like the Mr. Righteous kind of guy. Like it's like he's sort of around to. He's like a rescuer, right?
Okay.
And the rest of them are kind of, I don't know, they're just sort of there for the ride or whatever.
Yeah.
And I felt like towards the end they started to like drop a lot of the, I don't know, the negative characteristics of some of the characters, just to
I
make
don't,
like
I
a
don't
kind of cool
so
payoff.
much know about that. I mean, I think you could definitely say that maybe Florence
I'm trying
Pugh's
not to spoil
character
it, but
is a bit more of a cipher than the rest.
yeah,
I mean,
her character was really weird because I don't know if you're supposed to like sympathize with her, because she's kind of like, she's like a perpetual victim sort of in the movie, and you're like, but nobody's really doing anything to her, but she's always upset about something.
I will say it,
And it's
without trying to give too much away about anything, it is very honest and real portrayal.
That's
of
what I
someone
mean. Is like,
that.
and I don't think that it's bad. I think that it's, I liked that she was kind of a character that was like not, I don't know, like not fun to be around. Like she's just always very, you know, for reasons.
Good reasons.
Yeah, pretty like upset.
Pretty good.
But she
reasons.
also like projects it onto other people, but kind of tries to pretend like she's not. It's like she's like a very flawed character, like they all are.
Yeah.
But my problem was that they started to drop that kind of stuff towards the end, and I feel like they didn't like earn that.
I have a different interpretation of that, but I can't go into it without spoilers. I have a slightly different way of looking at that, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah,
I totally get that.
It's kind of hard to explain it because without spoiling the movie.
And obviously, we both like it. We want you to see it, so
sure
we're not going to spoil it.
It's really good. That's why I don't want to spoil it.
But it will present. Go with other people so that when you leave the cinema, you can talk to someone about it.
Because there's a lot of different facets of the movie, and like one of them that this isn't a spoiler because this is like, you know, within the first 5-10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Is people's experiences with like hallucinogenics. If there's really any one thing you could learn from this movie is, you know, like watch out who you're taking drugs with.
Yep. That was P. That was P.
Yeah, because that's like a pretty. I don't know if I want to say it's like a huge part of the movie.
It's pretty significant.
But I don't want to say it's significant to like the plot, because that's kind of up to your own interpretation because of the nature of seeing someone else's hallucinations on screen. Is sort of like, well, especially when there are multiple characters that are taking a bunch of drugs. And they're just sort of showing you the scene, not through someone else's eyes, but they're just showing you the scene, and you're seeing all this trippy stuff, and you're like, well, is this like a collective thing? Is this person's hallucination? Is this his person's hallucination?
And I will say about that, it never feels overwhelming. It feels like a perfectly used
like, you know,
Fear and Loathing.
Yeah.
Watched that one recently. I'm not a fan of that movie. I think you watch that movie when you're 13, and then you never watch it again.
What is that one? John Lennon, Across the Universe? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Whatever.
It's not like.
I gotta say though,
it's not extremely abstract.
Yeah. It's very deliberate.
That does feel like a big part of the movie, though.
Yeah.
It's sort of how you interpret it, like on your own.
I think there's a lot to be said there.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I love films like this. I love that it's divisive. It's going to create conversation. It is deliberate. There is a lot of intent that exists there. And I can't wait to watch it again and bury myself into it. Same with Hereditary. I did the exact same thing with Hereditary. I would personally say biggest mark against this film wasn't filmed in Utah like Hereditary was. So
yeah. It was. I really liked this movie. I just kind of was like, I guess maybe I just didn't really like the main character a whole ton. I can't really say I liked any of the characters a whole ton.
Yeah, it is very ensemble.
But maybe this is one of those things where
ensemble-ish.
You know, you're not supposed to.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that.
I feel like if someone came out of this movie and was like, you know what, I really liked, you know, that girl, I'd be like, were you watching the same movie? Because like all the characters were like, everybody's like, they're all kind of like really like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to the same phrase. They're all like emotionally abusive and stuff. Like the girl is, the guy is, everybody says this shitty stuff to each other.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and it's all filmed on the backdrop of like all these happy Swedish people.
Oh, filmed in a fucking
like,
IKEA.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my god.
But it's
which makes the ending even more like, you're just like, yeah, I didn't even know what to feel.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of like symbolism in this movie that I don't want to say is on the nose, but you don't need like.
There's some obvious.
You can
stuff.
use half your brain and understand the basic tenets of the movie.
I like that it presents enough to you that you then have to take away from it and interpret on your own. It really demands that you digest the film afterwards.
I mean,
honestly, with so many Marvel movies coming out and with so many of these tentpoles, like, don't get me wrong, I like the Marvel movies. I loved King Kong. I loved all of these other. Hobbs and Shaw is probably going to be my favorite movie
King
of the
of
year.
The Monsters.
Yeah, but it is nice to go to a movie that's like, it's for adults.
Yeah.
It's an adult movie. You're supposed to think about it.
And I'm not going to go so as far to say like, oh yes, this is like the movie for me, an intellectual. Like, you don't.
No, I'm not that pretentious.
The basic tenets of the movie, and this is, again, it doesn't feel like a spoiler because just even the name Midsommar is like the basic tenet of the movie, the festival in general, is like the cycle of life.
Yes.
And how this group of people interprets that, basically.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know that the shit goes bad.
Shit's got to go bad. It's rated R.
Shit's going down.
Yeah.
But like, you go in knowing that, and you don't need to sit there. And I feel like you don't need to sit there and dissect every little thing in this movie compared to like. Now this is going in the Wayback Machine, like Annihilation.
Oh god, that wasn't that way back.
I had to watch it. Well, I mean, just like
I get it.
Early last year.
Yeah, over a year.
I had to watch that like 2 more times.
Yeah,
and I was finally like,
you know what?
I got it. Like,
I think the way to put it is this film is not mired, that's a negative way to put it. This film is steeped in metaphor, and it really asks you to interpret it. Whereas Mother, a movie I loved, but I'm admitting that I'm just art house trash individual that loves
can't stand that movie.
I absolutely love Darren Aronofsky's work. I accept it on all of its terms. That film is oops all allegory, and it's obvious about it. And take that the way you will. It's just comparing.
This movie feels like a healthy middle ground.
Yes.
Because the core tenet is there, and it's easy to get. But there's like a lot of details. I imagine if you watch it a second time,
you'll pick up some more.
You know, because it
like,
really.
I want to do research on some things and then come back.
Because you really do, like, it does open up more and more and more as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
But especially like the beginning of the movie, like probably the first 20 minutes of the movie, it's probably like good to sit back and probably like analyze sort of what's going on.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit like that.
Yeah. End of the day, go see it in cinemas. It's worth seeing in great cinematography, really good use of surround sound too. Mm-hmm. Just a great experience all around.
It's a movie that takes place 90% outdoors
and during the daytime.
During the daytime, and like the sound design is like pretty cool because they're in a very quiet, secluded, but like open area, and like the stuff they do with the sound is like, you know, it's really like, I don't want to say like shrill or like loud and piercing when it needs to be. It's just really good. Then it's like very sound design. Yeah, then it's very quiet when it needs to be. It's like actually uncomfortably quiet almost. Yeah. Like it's really almost like it's a good movie. Yeah,
I know.
There's peaks and troughs. It really does feel like a lot of times you're sitting in a crowd where something awkward's happening and no one knows what to do.
Oh,
and you're all
great use of that.
You're all just, you know, like you saw that shit too, right? Like,
yeah, great use of that. I gotta say,
what do we do?
Another film that's like that came out recently. Plugging it real quick is on Netflix, The Perfection. It's got some great I have to sit here and experience this sequence.
It does awkward silence. The movie does awkward silences very well.
Oh, it does. Just fantastic all around. Go see it. Go see it.
For sure.
Go see it. So next week, I read the times wrong. Next week is The Lion King. which, aka, I'm just gonna go see Crawl and review that instead. But then the week after,
I think the only Mulan, I already spoiled it. The only Disney movie that I've live action I've ever actually looked forward to is probably Mulan, because I guess it's not a musical.
Yeah, it looks like
it's not like a shot-for-shot
war film
remake.
too. But yeah, next week I'm just gonna review Crawl instead. I prefer horror films.
Well, it's 2 weeks from now, then.
But 2 weeks from now, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
And then right after that, Hobbs and Shaw.
I still haven't even seen the last Fast and Furious movie.
You don't need to.
You mean you do,
do, but you don't need to. But you do.
Yeah.
You need to see all the Fast and Furious movies. Yeah. Thanks for sticking around. YouTube.com/classfilmsets. Please like, subscribe to the channel, comment below. This film's been out for a week. Someone should have something to say about it other than us. Twitter @GlassHouseFilms. Thanks y'all for watching. See you next week. Bye.